All right. I want to welcome you to another installment of the Girl Power Podcast. I am your host, Deborah. Make sure to subscribe and let's get to it. I have got a question for you. Do you want to get intimate with your gut? Do you want to finally resolve your unwanted symptoms of chronic illness head on? And learn how to support your health from a multi-dimensional lifestyle standpoint? If you do, then this conversation is for you. Jenna is a functional dietitian nutritionist, clinical herbalist, certified lead therapist, Reiki, and EFT practitioner. Her work has been featured in Eat This, Not That, Veg News Magazine, Shape Magazine, Insider, Everyday Health, and so many more. From one-on-one and group coaching to lab tests and online courses to a slew of customizable ways to help you heal your gut and regain your health, this specialty nutritionist has got the tools that will help you heal and grow. Welcome, Jenna.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So the last time we had seen each other was back around 2015 or so when I had my meal delivery company. Go on to tell me what you have accomplished since then.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, right?
I'm pretty sure I saw you either at a yoga class or we went out for dinner. And then, everything just kind of happened after that.
Yeah.
So
I took some time off to heal and I wanted to regroup and get on a healthier train.
Yes. And then I think, so I was practicing in Woburn, Massachusetts at the time, had the private practice going. That was like my full-time gig until 2018. I fell in love with a man who lived halfway across the country. So here I am in Texas, just outside of Austin. And it's been an adventure, but I guess, still practicing just a little bit differently. It used to be just a full-time old school brick and mortar insurance-based business, a nutrition practice with a local office. And that was just 100% of what I did. And now, since moving to Texas, I would say it was very humbling. Moving to a place where nobody knows you and you have to start over, and insurance wasn't covering telehealth before the pandemic.
Right.
And I kind of just moved here without a plan. I was like, oh, we'll figure it out. It's going to work. And, ended up coming here and having to work 3 jobs and getting the practice off the ground until 2020 happened, and then was able to kind of rebuild things and go all in again. And
Can you tell me some of the things that you did to reinvest in yourself to begin to get your business up and running again? There's got to be a lot in terms of mindset work and productivity and just self-love.
It was a little bit of everything. It was very much, it was very uncomfortable as far as wow, I thought that this was going to be fine, and got to a point where it really wasn't fine. It wasn't sustainable to just wing it. And it's interesting because physical health has always been such a big priority for me. And so I did have a few physical health things come up, just little glitches during that time too. So investing in that while also making 75%, losing 75% of my business. It was a weird situation. So I ended up borrowing money from a bank, and then kind of just investing in all different training and courses and things like that. Just realizing, having all your eggs in one basket is not sustainable, but also you need to be, in order to do the things and to show up as the best version of yourself, you need to be physically healthy. You need to have the energy. You need to be, feeling great and all those things. So
Yeah, you do. Definitely.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I want to back up so our listeners get a sense of really how this all started. So can you tell us the story about the cup of the green tea?
Sure. I'm sure you've heard this story before. I know.
I love this story.
It's one of those things where life just kind of puts, we find the people that we need to meet, and everything kind of happens synchronicity wise. So when I least expected it, I was still in high school back in 2004. I was volunteering at a hospital coffee shop because I didn't do the sports or anything like that, and started chatting with a customer, this older man, elderly man, who ordered a cup of green tea. I was like, I didn't even know we had green tea here, but sure, I'll find you some. And so poured in the tea and we start chatting, and he starts rattling off all these really bold statistics about, oh, did you know in Japan they smoke a lot more than we smoke in America, cigarettes, all these things, and their lung cancer rates are exponentially lower because they drink green tea multiple times a day. And I was like, it hit home for me because I have cancer runs rampant in my family on both sides. Have lost, had to watch a few people go through lung cancer and other types. So I was like terrified of getting old at that point in my life. I just didn't really make any connection between like that what we eat affects our health. Yeah. Even though I had heard it before, I didn't believe it. And so then I went home that day and started researching about like antioxidants and green tea, and just came across like this entire slew of all these like PubMed studies and articles. I was like, are you kidding me? It was like a secret society. Long story short, that's kind of how everything started, was like, oh, food is medicine. Like you actually can really make a tremendous impact on your health through different food and herbs. And I just wanted to learn everything that I possibly could.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge component to investing in yourself. You found something that resonated with you, and then you took action to go ahead and learn more about that, take the courses, meet the people, read the stuff in order to get and develop that skill set. And then you then laid the foundation for you to do what you do now, which is admirable.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's weird. It's like you kind of just decide on something, like you just decide one thing that you want to learn or do or figure out, and you just take the next step, right? So you don't need to know, like I had no idea at that point in time what my path was going to look like. I just knew I'm going to learn everything I can about XYZ. And so I did internet research on that stuff when I, just nerded out on it. And then the next step was, I guess I'll major in nutrition. I'll go to school and I'll major in nutrition. So that was like the next step, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, expand upon your philosophy of health as a foundation on which we can build, and how does someone keep it strong?
Ooh, loaded question. Love it. Yeah, so kind of like what I was saying before, it's like anything that we want in life, we need to be, to some degree, we need to be healthy enough. But like, when we're well, when we're feeling great, we can do so much more with our time, right? Because time is finite. We only have so much of it. And I find that when we don't feel well, we can't get things done. We can't work efficiently. We can't get focused the way that we can when we feel healthy, when we feel energized, when we feel optimal. And I kind of experienced that firsthand going through school. So I always like to do all the things, right? Like I would kind of just learn things, and then I would tweak my diet, lifestyle, like as I learned, was constantly just like making little tweaks. But senior year of college, I remember things took a little bit of a turn. I started developing, it was after like different things happened in my life, but started developing gut issues, IBS. I ate so healthy, and nothing really changed like that drastically about my diet that caused it to happen. But I was getting like gas and bloating, and like all these mortifying, just like horrible things would happen after I ate every meal. And I was 21, like I was in, the pinnacle of like when you're supposed to be.
Yeah, your prime.
Yeah, your prime. And I just, for the life of me, could not fix that. I could not figure it out. And it affected everything in my life, right? Like those senior year was a great year, but it was also a time where I was just like constantly, it was like this little rain cloud that followed me around. And that went on into like a few years into my early 20s, which I guess brings me back full circle into like, I decided as a dietitian who worked in a mental health facility, right? Like, so gut health was not my specialty. I hired a holistic nutritionist. I eventually hired a functional medicine doctor, functional dietitian, and emptied my cup and just decided like, okay, whatever I'm doing, I'm not getting to where I want to be. I know that what I'm going through is not normal. And so I hired it out and I did the work, and obviously not a quick fix, right? Like took years of refining and lifestyle overhaul, but that was kind of like a decision that I had to make. And then after that was when I started the business and everything just kind of aligned.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Something you said that just got me thinking here was when you were hiring out everybody to help you, and it isn't overnight. It does take time. What kept you going on, kept going when you weren't seeing the results right away and that you knew it was right, but that you keep putting your foot forward? Like, what is that helps you get that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you able to keep going and persevering through that?
Ooh, that's it. No one's ever asked me that before. That's such a great question. It was a combination of things. One thing was like, I used to feel great. Like I know what it felt like before. Like I knew, and I wanted to get back to that. I was like, this didn't just happen for no reason, right? I'm not just going to I was kind of being told like, well, you're just going to have to spend the rest of your life managing this stuff. I was like, that can't be. Just a year ago, I was fine. 2 years ago, whatever. I knew what it felt like to feel a lot better. And I think there was a piece of just like intuition, like that inner knowing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was figure outable. And I have always fundamentally believed, like to the core of my being, that Mother Nature provides us the solutions to our problems. And it's a matter of uncovering them.
Yeah. I love that. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of just like, we'll leave no stone unturned. Like, might as well just keep trying, and just eventually, if I keep trying long enough, all roads lead to Rome, and it's figure outable.
And you and I are both Italian, so that's the place to go.
Love it. Amen.
Right? All right. How has the journey been for you in creating the dream you are now living? You have worked through your own struggles in gut health that you just talked about. You have a business that you are very passionate about. You live according to your values and you keep moving forward. How do you overcome the challenges, stay focused, and come out the other side? And how does it feel to be able to give back to others based on your experiences?
Ooh. It's interesting. The whole time there's kind of like this weird feeling of like you feel like you're just stumbling through to the next step. Like you never really have a feeling of like you've got it all together. To this day, I don't feel like I have it all together. You keep following. So one of my coaches at one point advised me, like, follow the breadcrumbs. And that has stuck with me. It's like, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know what the next step is going to be. And you just have to stay rooted in your conviction. And so it was kind of like going through that healing journey was necessary for me to build confidence in myself. It was like, well, if I can do this, I can do anything. And then it simultaneously sparked this sense of purpose. Like before, I was kind of just like doing things as a dietitian that I thought people, like I would just do whatever people wanted from me, right? Which was fine. It was like, I want a meal plan. I've got diabetes. I need, X, Y, Z. And then people, in different areas of the spectrum, just like I would just be whatever people wanted me to be as I was trying out different niches and just serving, right? Because I was just like, I'm here to serve. But when you go through a certain journey, it changes a lot about your mindset. And, there's a part of me that like, there's just certain things that I'm never going to be able to go back to because of what I know now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. That's the whole evolution of yourself growing. And I think our audience can relate to that too, as they go through what challenges they face and they keep persevering, they keep following the breadcrumbs, and they keep taking the next, best step.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Yeah, right. I know it's certainly what I've been doing in my own journey is to healing and growing and evolving. What can you do now that you were not able to do then or years ago?
A few different things. I feel like one of my biggest like personal challenge has always been like I'm a people pleaser, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I think there's a lot of good in that, but to a fault, like we're not really supposed to be lighting ourselves on fire in order to keep other people warm. And even though it's a work in progress, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at saying no when something is not aligned, like if it's not in alignment with everything.
Yeah,
I feel like, yeah, just getting better at setting boundaries, advocating for myself and not really caring, like as long as what I'm saying is like within, I'm being reasonable and, I have good reason for what I'm asking. I feel like advocating for myself has gotten exponentially easier.
Yes. Transformation. I love it.
So it's like a blessing in disguise, right? Because you kind of have to go through all that hard stuff. And then you come out on the other side and it's like, oh, wow, why was I so scared of, advocating for myself all those years? It's fine.
I completely relate on the people pleasing thing. I spent many years as a codependent, as a people pleaser, and I trip over myself as I try and set that boundary in a healthy way, and then I'd feel guilty and bad, and then I didn't want to hurt somebody else, but I could take the hurt myself, and then I just decided that I can't do it anymore.
It's not sustainable.
No.
And then we become so resentful.
Yes.
Right? I was finding myself like I would get so resentful, and I'm like, but wait a minute, I let this happen. I made this happen, right? Like I created this dynamic and I can change it. And I kind of decided one day, like anybody that's not okay with my terms is not worth my time.
Yeah.
Which is a little harsh, but it's like anyone that's reasonable and understanding is going to understand where I'm coming from. Like what I'm asking, I think is reasonable.
For sure. The inner circle gets smaller, but it gets healthier.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So for anyone who is holistic minded, knows deep down that something is off with their gut and is ready to address the full picture of their health from all angles, walk us through the 6 pillars of your complete gut repair program.
Oh, sure. It's so funny. I'm actually opening the doors this week. It opened last week and it's open until this Friday. I don't know if the YouTube will be live or the podcast will be live by then or not, but doing it again in January. Mm-hmm. So step 1, and these are all things that I kind of first had to figure out the hard way, like going through everything myself, and then had to kind of go through it in practice as well, realizing that what worked for me is not going to be what works for other people. Right. Which you kind of know, but then I kind of had to learn that, to an even greater extent.
Yeah, but how do you put that in a context of then a business to be able to serve people, but everybody is so customizable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I realized like, okay, the 6 things that I'm doing with everybody that has gotten the results that they want, like all the way to the other side, we start with getting clarity, right? So you got to figure out what's going on before we start treating symptoms or cutting out foods, right? Like so many people just want to like get this list of foods to eat, foods to avoid. And it's like, but we don't even know, like, do you have an underlying medical condition, right? There's what are the root causes, getting clear on, okay, what is going on? Why did this start happening? And what are your root causes? That's how we have to kind of reverse engineer everything else.
Yeah.
So that's pillar number 1. And then pillar number 2 is we take what we learned from part 1 and then we develop a food as medicine plan based on having run tests, right? Figuring out with food logging and testing, like, okay, what are going to be the best foods for your body? Do you have food sensitivities? Is there something going on in your gut microbiome where maybe you got to, eat in a certain way that's going to support certain microbes and not others?
Yeah.
So that's pillar number 2. And then, definitely nutrition therapy. So old school, like if you have celiac disease, you do need to be gluten-free, right? That kind of thing. Or if you have diverticulitis, you do need to be on a low fiber, low residue situation.
Is that what that is with that? My aunt had that and I had some IBS stuff too. And I was wondering, like, I feel like too much vegetables, too much fiber irritates in them, but I'm like, you're supposed to be eating fiber.
Yeah, fiber is not good for, so someone who's in a flare with like IBD, so like Crohn's or colitis, like fiber is not their friend if they're in a flare.
That makes so much sense now.
So those are, that's what dietitians in that kind of traditional clinical setting will do is we'll, see someone in a hospital bedside and they're in a Crohn's flare and we put them on like a low fiber, low residue diet. But the thing is that diet could still have a lot of the things that they're sensitive to. It could, like if they're lactose intolerant, it could still have lactose in it, right? It's like drink all the milk because it's low fiber and low residue. Well, maybe they have a dairy issue that's not related to their clinical situation. So kind of just like looking at it from all angles, nutrition wise, clinical, functional, holistic. So that's part 2. Remove and replace it, figure out what's working best and then replace it, or, remove the stuff that's not working, replace it with stuff that's going to work better. Module 3 is all about the gut microbiome, which I feel like people are getting more familiar. You know what the gut microbiome is. Yeah.
Yeah. The things that do their job.
All those things in our gut that help us like digest our food and all these other things.
Enzymes.
Yeah. So running a gut mapping test, right? There's so many different types out there, but running that test and getting clear on, okay, how do you optimize, right? So how do we increase the good guys, kill off the bad guys, and, sustain that?
Yeah. Ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. So that's part 3. Sorry, it's a long-winded answer.
No, it's good.
Part 4 is like, support and supplement and actually, do things for the gut lining that are going to repair it, give it the nutrients that it needs to repair and rebuild healthier and stronger. For me, it was bone broth on my journey.
Yeah.
And I definitely went through a phase in the beginning where I was just like, so all in on bone broth. Like everybody and their mother needs to drink bone broth. Like, some people actually get sick when they drink bone broth. It's not for everyone, or some people are vegetarian, and what do you do? So yeah, figuring out, okay, what is going to be this person's ally to repair the gut lining, which restores every 48 hours. You get a new gut lining every 48 hours to 30 days.
Okay.
So that's part 4. Part 5 is all about your nervous system and energy, the energy centers of the body, the chakras.
Yeah.
So rewiring your nervous system so that you're not living in a state of fight or flight, because that wreaks havoc on the gut, the immune system, all that stuff.
Yeah. When I get stressed at work, I instantly have stomach problems.
Yeah. You're not alone.
Good.
Sometimes.
It's like instant. I know I'm not consciously aware that I'm stressed. My body lets me know.
It's amazing. Our bodies are so intelligent. They really, we have our subconscious that just like knows everything.
Yeah, it's true.
And then, not to get like too out there, but then there's the chakras, right? So for example, the solar plexus, that is the energy center that is corresponding with the stomach and the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas, which are all digestive organs. I find that certain people, for example, if someone has constipation, they tend to have restricted energy in that center. Mm-hmm. And then someone who is, has an underactive solar plexus might have a tendency to want to control more, right? To feel more, desire to control, or maybe the opposite. They feel like they don't have any control over a situation. That's a really general example, but just like, it's so fascinating to learn how mental, emotional patterns and physical organs correspond to like these energy centers in the body.
Yeah, I firmly believe in that. Like, I totally know emotions can cause illness. Or emotions, I should say.
Trapped emotions. Yeah, there's like 5 different ways, probably more than 5 different ways to release trapped emotions. But we do some of that like on my live group calls. We release trapped emotions together. And these are things that you're not going to, a lot of people just don't know to look for that stuff to like. So I just want to kind of like, I think people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So if they're like, oh, I'm not 100% better, this is just how I have to live. It's like, no, it just means you haven't finished your journey, or you haven't fully cracked your code yet. At least for gut health, right? Some things we just, but all things that correspond to the gut, I believe that they are figure outable. It's just a matter of cracking your code and then, setting up that holistic lifestyle, and then going on cruise control, which is part 6, maintenance. Rinse and repeat, right? So people will typically dabble in these things for a few days, few weeks when it's convenient. Yeah. And then they're like, it didn't work. I'm like, yeah, because you only did it like 2 days a week or you stopped after 30 days and it takes more time to heal your gut. So the maintenance piece of just like getting laser focused and not pivoting after a program is over, but go back and rinse and repeat and get to that level of mastery and consistency so that everything just mushrooms and snowballs.
You're doing amazing work, Jenna. I cannot wait to join your program. If the audience knows, they should know because they watched some of the other shows that I've done. I had terrible eating disorders from very young. And I was hospitalized at 22, and I had been on a binge purge cycle for 4 days straight. I mean, like I could keep nothing down, and they thought it was Crohn's because I didn't tell them I was bulimic. But I was through 75% of my colon was infected, and it was bad. I then came out of the hospital, thought I could control my eating disorder. And obviously I was in denial relative to being an addict. And then it went on and on and on, another decade. And I probably started in my early 30s to really get a better hold of it. Did it go away? No, but the therapy was kicking in. The trauma work was kicking in. I tell you, everything from my gut came out through my skin when I was originally healing. It was like devastating. Thank goodness I worked in a cubicle that year and there was nobody in the office. But it just started pouring out. And that's when I had started the meal delivery company, because I had been diagnosed with so many food allergies, and I was still healing from this eating disorder. And I was like, if I'm going to be in the kitchen all day, I might as well just cook for other people. And that's really was the birthplace of Freshly Balanced. And then it just got convoluted with commercial kitchens, and I was trying to wait tables to take the pressure off, the financial pressure off the business so I could hire people. And then it was just, there was like too many moving parts with food. But I kept going. And after I did close it, I went into even greater trauma coaching to get more at the root of really what was going on. And, the behaviors will come up in really big times of stress where I feel like I'm back in my childhood where I'm powerless. But in terms of the gut, I can tell my gut's still healing from it all, because I have all of the things.
Yeah.
Bloating, IBS. And just because I know I've had panels done in the past where it was just so many things to eliminate, you need a good support structure for that. And your program has that. I think outside in my own personal life as a single woman, plus working 50 hours a week at a job, because I work for a meal delivery company now, and then having businesses, I need to strategically plan in when I'm ready to take on that leap. But for an audience member that, may have a similar path, or somebody that has that support structure, your program really will help you take you from a place of, unhealthy microbes and all of the unconscious awareness of how much it's all connected, to clarity. And clarity, I do think, is like tremendously huge, because then that empowers you to do the things in your lifestyle for that maintenance work.
Amen. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your journey too. I feel like, it just is such a great reminder of how things happen for us, because then it forces us to do this work that we otherwise might not do.
Yeah.
It's hard, but when we have certain things happening in life, it kind of forces us into that next step.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All right, Jenna, where can everybody find you?
So my main website is holisticliving.com. It's spelled really funny. It's not spelled normal. It's whole as in Whole Foods, and then isticliving.com.
Yeah.
That's a nutrition and herb website. And then I have an energy healing website, which is kind of new. It's just jennavolpe.com. So going to hopefully build that out a little bit more in the next year or so, for like Reiki and tapping and things like that.
Yeah.
And then, those are the two main places. And otherwise, on the website, there's kind of links to I have some freebies, online courses, things like that people are welcome to check out.
All right. And are they the same handles for like Instagram and Facebook and stuff?
Oh yeah. Yep. Facebook and Instagram. It's just at Holistic Living, spelled, the way that it's spelled.
Yeah. I love the name of it, because I understand where you're going with that. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
All right, cool. So let's close with some fun turnarounds anyone can say if they have IBS or adverse food reactions and have to deal with some annoying comments, because that can happen at times, I know. So what would somebody say in response to, but you ate this your whole life?
Oh my goodness.
What would they say?
Yeah, totally have gotten that question before. And to that, I would say, well, my body has changed since I was a kid, and some of the foods that used to work for me just don't work anymore.
Good.
Which is the truth, right? That's really what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What about, why aren't you eating such and such?
I guess that one depends on the context, depends on the person. But typically I would say, well, I have some health stuff and certain foods impact aspects of my health. And, it's just not worth it for me to have that.
Yes. And one more. Come on, a little bit won't kill you.
I say, yeah, I'm good for now.
All right. Thanks so much, Jenna, for being with me here today on the Girl Power Podcast. Again, guys, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and catch you on the next episode.